Welcome to Build. I'm Laura Haywood. Broadway is currently hosting the biggest star the industry has ever seen in the form of a 20-foot, 2,000-pound puppet gorilla named King Kong. To play opposite a creature so colossal, the team behind the brand new musical had to find a truly extraordinary leading lady. After years of searching, workshops, and international productions, they found their star in Christiani Pitts, Broadway's Ann Darrow. This King Kong story is told on stage from the perspective of the human protagonist, giving new insights into Ann's history, motivation, and agency. Please join me in welcoming the gorgeous Christiani Pitts.
Thank you so much.
I'm so glad you're here. What a show this is.
Oh my goodness. It's a beast, for lack of a better word.
It is. So I actually looked up synonyms for puppet because I feel like people associate puppets with, even the really fancy ones are nothing like what we have here. But there isn't another word to use.
Right. I mean, technically, puppet is completely accurate.
Yeah.
But if you see it, you're like, oh, okay, that's not what I was expecting.
This is really what the scale looks like. This woman, this beast.
Right.
I want to get to Ann Darrow, but first let's describe how they do the ape on the stage for those who haven't gotten a chance to see it yet.
Magic. I'm first just going to say the word magic because that really is what it is. But technically, there are 10 actors who manipulate his arms and his legs and his soul, if you will. Mm-hmm. And there are 4 actors in a booth that we call the Voodoo Lounge. Mm-hmm. Sounds like a club.
It totally does.
And they are on like the second tier of our mezzanine, and they operate his face and his voice and his shoulders and his head.
So I brought a friend to the show, and when we first got a glimpse of Kong, which I think you first kind of see his teeth glinting in the dark, we both screamed out loud and grabbed each other and we're like, oh my God. I've never felt so much like I was in the middle of a show. I mean, I love theater because it's 3-dimensional, but this felt 4-dimensional somehow.
It's insane. And that specific scene that you're talking about, when we first did it, I wanted them to do everything. Give me the lights, give me the sound, because I didn't think it was going to be that scary. So I thought, let's just go for it. And I was terrified because I can't see him. And so I just had no idea how close he was or if he would come to life and really eat me or what. I didn't know what was going to happen. So I was terrified. And as you can see, that scene is specifically terrifying because we want the audience to know that you are about to go on a ride of a lifetime.
Totally.
And like you said, you feel like you're in the show. And that's what we want. So
the whole design is like that. I mean, the projections are really used in a really successful way. It's like a big. You know what it reminded me of was like the original IMAX screens that were 10 stories tall, except this one's curved around. So so really you feel like you're in it. When there's a boat and you're on the boat, the projections are just moving a little bit like the audience is on the boat too.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm in the minority, I think, in that I have never seen a King Kong movie.
Still to this day?
To this day. So this was with what, you're mad at me?
We'll talk about it after the interview.
I wanted to go into the show. I mean, I thought, I'll watch one of the movies to get a sense, to prepare me for the show. But then I was like, it's so rare, I think, when such a known brand is brought to the stage for somebody to get to experience that.
Yes.
I was going to say as a virgin. You know what I mean? I was a King Kong virgin.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually even really know what Ann Darrow's story was or what it became. I mean, obviously, I've seen the iconic photos on the Empire State Building.
Right. Which I just went there last night, actually.
Really?
I went to the Empire State Building.
Something for the show or just
Well, I went for myself just to explore, and then when I got to the top, I was like, oh, why didn't I do this earlier?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I'm surprised they didn't bring you there. For dramaturgical reasons.
It's beautiful, and there's so much King Kong history on the 86th floor. It's magnificent. Sorry.
So what was your introduction to King Kong? What's your earliest memory of the brand?
Mine is a 2005 film with Naomi Watts playing Ann Darrow and Jack Black playing the Carl Denham role that Eric William Morris plays. And there was a Jack Driscoll character played by Adrian Brody, but we don't have him in our show because we wanted to focus on Ann Darrow's story and that she doesn't necessarily need a man to save her. She saves herself, which is so much fun to play. And that was my first time seeing the show or seeing the movie, and I loved it.
Did you see it when it came out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I love Naomi Watts, so I went to the theater specifically for her, but loved the idea of that type of technology in the theater. It was crazy. I mean, the way they created Kong was beautiful.
I'm definitely gonna go watch it.
Oh, it's long. It's long, but it's so good.
But I wanted to have that pure experience. Yeah. And I'm so glad that you were my first Ann Darrow.
Thank you. And it's a very different Ann Darrow.
That's what I understand.
You're gonna see the other ones and say, oh, this is much different than what I thought.
Yeah. So tell us what makes your Ann Darrow different.
Well, for one thing, we get to learn a little bit more about who she is. For the longest time, she's just sort of been the target of Kong's sort of affection. Like, she's been the person that Kong fell in love with because she was different than anything else he's ever seen. In our version, you kind of learn why she ended up on a boat with all men in 1930s, why she came to New York in the first place. You discover her ambition. And then when she's on Skull Island, she's not sort of a damsel who Kong destroys. She's his equal, and they're partners, and they sort of understand each other on a really emotional level. And it gets pretty deep in our version, just because it starts to speak about why people can connect without speaking the same language and how they can connect without speaking the same language. And it just dives into that a little more than some of the other iterations of the story.
I fell so much in love with Kong as a character that in some ways he felt more human than some of the human actors. Or I should say some of the human characters who were acting, kind of brutish.
Right.
Then here you have this. I'm so glad that the key art has this like eyebrow bridge because the eyebrows make the whole experience different. I feel like as humans, we're so expressive with our eyes. And there were moments that I thought the puppet was going to shed a tear. And there were times when I would have sworn that you could probably feel his hot breath on you, but yeah, I feel very tender about this beast. And I know Ann does too.
Yeah, it's really, and it's so funny because there are moments in the show, even now doing it for almost 2 months, that I'll notice something different in the way he's built that sort of causes a different emotional reaction than what I'm supposed to have. And I have to sort of remind myself, like, oh, you don't know him that well yet. You're supposed to still be scared of him. But he'll do something with his eyes that's so sweet and precious that I'm like, oh, wait. He's supposed to eat me. Here, just focus. Because he can, like you said, look so pitiful that I just want to care for him from the very beginning. But I have to remember the sort of trajectory.
The story. So I wish that I could accurately explain the way that his limbs move. Because they're really, and this is, I think, why I was so excited to see it as a theatrical production first.
Right.
Because in the movies, especially now, you can use special effects, you can do CGI.
Right.
But here, you see the theatricality of it.
Absolutely.
Because there are human people who, again, are like that scale.
Right.
Moving his limbs in addition to his shoulders and his back, and to be able to see the stagecraft while simultaneously being able to suspend disbelief and believe that this is a real creature with feelings.
Isn't it amazing that we can do that as human beings sitting in the audience? It's fascinating because that's a risk that I think the production took, was asking if adults who paid money can believe in something for 2 hours that isn't necessarily real, and they do. And it's amazing to me that as adults we can sort of forget all the nonsense outside of the theater walls and come in and actually believe and care for something that took years to create, that 10 actors plus the 4 upstairs are giving their souls to come to life, and we actually buy it. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I'm curious about the safety concerns because I can imagine that if you took one step the wrong way and that front, is it called a paw?
The paw, team right paw,
came down on you, that would be bad news in a major way.
Yeah, it'd be pretty bad. But again, talking about how those actors on stage are Kong's soul, I like to say, they all have in-ears. So they are in constant communication with the team that are operating his face and his voice. And they're also in communication with our stage manager. So they know if something's going wrong that they have to fix immediately. I don't have an in-ear. So I have to pay really close attention to what they're doing and make eye contact. And it's very meta because that is me understanding Kong on a deeper level than what you guys see as the audience. Because while, Kong's face is doing one thing, I'm looking at, say, someone operating his back foot, giving me the signal that we're not going to go, something's going to change. For your safety, stay right here. And all of that happens in silence with deep eye connection. Everyone takes responsibility for the other actor's safety. And we just sort of have each other's backs. And so I say it feels meta because I'm communicating without words to protect myself.
With the soul of the beast.
With the soul of the beast. And that is literally the point of our story, pretty much, is connecting to people's souls without necessarily understanding them. And that's what we do to keep ourselves safe.
Yeah, wow.
Truly.
So how does that affect your process as an actor? Because usually when I talk to people who are, especially on stage, where they live that whole story arc in one line,
right.
They get lost in their characters.
Right.
And it's about they memorize the lines and the choreography so that they can really emote and live fully as Ann Darrow in this case. But you can't let go of Christiani because Christiani has to be in touch with the
safety
puppeteers.
Right.
Yeah. So does that change your process at all?
Well, not really, because I feel like I have a big connection to the character in a way that is really powerful to me. And I feel like Ann Darrow is a version of my grandmother and so I do feel like I can lose myself in the character, but still have all these sort of instinctual things going on that I have as a person, but they're connected to Ann Darrow. And she's so faithful and so strong and so determined that if I just continue to stay in that world and continue to channel what it means like to be extremely focused, I will stay safe as Ann Darrow and not worry about sort of getting lost or forgetting a line or. So it's worked out so far, which is great. And it's honestly enhanced my process because I have to stay so true to the exact moment at the exact time or something could go wrong.
Sure.
Yeah.
And certainly there's an element in Ann's story where she is always on the lookout for danger too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is a woman who I assume this is another part you relate to. She's a young actress. She comes to New York City. She's determined to be the Queen of New York, which, by the way, is my jam. Christiani made this music video that it's like a Beyonce video.
Ooh.
It's phenomenal. And
I appreciate that
I've
so
been
much.
listening to it on repeat. I pumped up to for this interview. I probably listened to it 20 times on repeat this morning.
Yeah, it's fun.
In or out of the theater.
Yeah.
This song is a hit.
Thank you.
So I want to go back to, and I know, were you a recording artist for a little bit? So I like to do a lot of research, and I found this Twitter account that you used before you moved to New York. I think it was like your senior year of high school and your freshman year of college.
Oh, God.
And I think my favorite, you were like this striving musician, but you have some beautiful tweets about Patina Miller, where you were like, I'm going to meet Patina Miller today, and I met her, and she was amazing, and pictures of playbills. And I thought,
need to find this.
I thought, now this woman is having her girls come to the stage door looking at you, and 5 years from now, we're going to be digging through the archives of their tweets. So talk about going from fan at the sage door to coming back out the stage door.
Oh, goodness. I'm going to talk about this fast so I don't cry.
Oh, come on. We love tears here.
Y'all not going to get me. You're not going to get me. So specifically Patina Miller, I love her, and anyone who knows me knows that. And in my dressing room, I've told the story before, but it's so real. In my dressing room, underneath the table, oh no, there are signatures, and one of the signatures was hers, and like Sutton Foster and all these. Oh no!
You have the same dressing room now that Patina Miller had during Sister Act.
Yeah, and it makes me really emotional because clearly I tweeted about it, but I've wanted to do this my whole life. Like literally my entire life, and I've looked up to people like her and so many others to figure out what to do and figure out how to do it. So to actually sit in the seat and be doing it every night is surreal. And I don't take it lightly, or I don't take it for granted when I go to the stage door and people tell me that I inspire them, or that they want to do this. I tell them to keep going, because if you're ever somewhere and you said you wanted to be there and I was there and my signature was there, it can happen. You know what I mean? In my experience, God is good, and God has blessed me more than I thought was possible. And he can do that for you, or whatever you believe in. Believe in it with your whole gut, and it'll happen.
Well, there was also a tweet around that time where you said, Kendrick Lamar, you don't know it yet, but we're about to be making great music together soon. So we'll hope that star continues to move, and who knows? Kendrick may be watching this.
He better be, because I've written a lot of songs and his verse is empty, and I'm just waiting for him to fill it out.
All right, well, we'll send him the VOD.
So, let's send him Queen of New York and say, we're going to leave you a little blank verse.
Can you imagine if this interview led to a collaboration with Kendrick Lamar?
You heard it here first.
Okay, so you started singing at 5 in the Baptist church, right?
Yes.
And then how did you go from being there to being here?
Man, a lot of annoying songwriting and
annoying. Why?
Oh, just because I don't think I could actually sing well until I got training. I think before I was just sort of screaming. And
you were practicing.
Practicing.
That's what it takes to get successful at something. You have to be. There's a difference between being new at something and being bad at it. You weren't bad at it. You were just new at it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Take that, 8th grade friends who picked on me. I wasn't bad. I was practicing.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, because I, similar to Ann Darrow, I had faith. So even if I wasn't good at it, I was like, I believe that I will be at some point.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't really sing, but I would scream all over the place. Or I couldn't really dance, but I would, mimic a music video and try to do it. And I would never stop. So I sung in the Baptist church, and then I went to New Jersey and did plays. And then I started getting cast in things. And so I was like, oh, maybe people think I'm good at this. And then I got professional training in college and high school, and literally haven't looked back. I haven't. And I still sing. I don't sing in church anymore because I haven't necessarily found my church home in the city. But when I do, I will be in the choir on Sundays and Broadway on Sunday afternoon, yes. I was going to say Monday, but we don't have Monday shows.
Oh man, I love the story so much, and I also have been thinking about your role in A Bronx Tale.
Yes.
And I kind of feel like I see Anne as Jane, like Jane was living in the Bronx and doing her thing, and then she moved to Manhattan, and now
she made it big
she's
time
downtown. I mean,
wait, that's fierce,
right?
That's it.
I like to fan fiction through lines.
Oh, right. I love that
play.
That's it.
Different characters.
I think Jane made it out. You know what's funny?
And we know Ann Darrow is not a real name.
No,
maybe her real name isn't Anna Mae. It's Jane. Different era, 60s, 30s, but
we're gonna rewrite
it's just
it.
fan fiction.
I love that. We used to joke in that show that the final song in the show was called "Choices," talking about that the choices we make can shape your life forever. And we used to joke that at some point all the characters are gonna come back on stage and like rock to side and say like, Jane went to Spelman University to pursue education. Like, it just like make up a storyline.
Yeah.
That's what she did. She went to Manhattan to become an actress. Great. She made it.
I want to talk to you about the fact that Ann Darrow is traditionally seen as a white blonde woman, and you were the first actress of color to play her on any stage that I've ever heard of, or I haven't seen any record of Ann Darrow being played by an actress of color. One of my favorite moments of the show is Ann is on the boat. She is shown her room, and there's this whole bunch of like beautiful costumes.
Yeah.
And it's never mentioned, but above the closet, there's a wig stand with a blonde wig. And they're like, these clothes used to belong to another actress, but now they're yours.
Right.
I have goosebumps just talking about it. I feel like that wig was set there to say, that's in the past. Bye-bye, blonde Ann Darrow. Here is the Ann Darrow for today.
Wow. Wow. You know what's funny? That when I saw that, I thought it's going to sort of start to get in my head that I'm not supposed to be here, but prove that you are. So I love that sort of thinking of out with the old, in with the new. I love that. But I think for Ann Darrow in that moment, that's a reminder to her that there you go again, thinking that you're supposed to be someone special, but you're not that special. You're just secondhand. And so you watch her in that moment sort of psych herself out and say, okay, maybe I'm not his first pick, and maybe I'm not supposed to be here in his eyes, but I'm going to prove to him that I deserve to be here. And I am so happy that I, Christiani, get to do this role, because I know there are a lot of people out there who were upset when they announced that they were casting a woman of color and were angry. But I feel like every day that I do that show, I am proving that I deserve to be here just like anybody else. And I deserve to tell what the story could have been like from a woman of color's perspective, just like anybody does. And I'm happy that I get to do that because it's fun.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And I just think about all those little girls who are going to see you and be like, yeah, of course the movie star, the Broadway star, the one that has this special connection.
Yeah.
Of course that girl can look like me.
Absolutely.
So.
I went to see my friend in Frozen, the musical, and she covers the role of Anna, and she's the first person of color to do that role on Broadway. Yeah. And I remember leaving the show and watching all these little girls talk about, I'm Anna, no, I'm Anna, no, I'm Elsa, no, I'm Elsa. And these girls were all sorts of different types of races, and not a single one of them cared or had to say, well, you can't be Anna because she didn't look like, they didn't care.
Right.
They believed in a Disney princess. And what I'm excited about is that little girls and boys are seeing the show, and they believe about a girl who has a special relationship with a super big-hearted friend, and they buy it and they love it. And it's adults who put it in their minds that I wasn't supposed to be that friend. Yeah. They don't care. They believe it. Yeah. And that's what's important.
I will say be careful bringing kids to this show because it's scary. It's like it's scary. And maybe, I would say PG-13 at least.
It is. But my 7-year-old niece came and didn't go over well.
Really?
Well, she came back. She wanted to see it again. But she was just upset about the ending, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. But it wasn't. I mean, she understood the friendship part.
Yeah. Oh, she loved it. She loved it.
Did she get to meet Kong?
She didn't because they fly him up.
They store him up in the wing.
Yeah, his big dressing room. But but truly though, he can't be backstage with us schlepping it backstage. He gets the whole sky of the building.
Just hanging out up there.
Yeah, wow. I mean, he's huge.
I feel like we could sit here talking all day, but we are going to open the questions up to the audience.
Okay.
We'll start right here.
Hi, Christiani.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm fine. Prior to auditioning for this show, how much did you know about like the production? Because there was a production in Australia.
Right.
Right.
I didn't know much about it until the audition came up. And then I did tons of research and watched as many videos and clips and pictures as I could. And I was obsessed with it. And I was hoping I would get a shot at it, but I tell people all the time, I didn't think I actually stood a chance. So I went in the audition free as a bird, open heart, because I didn't think that they would actually take me seriously. So I had done a bunch of research just to be aware of it, and I loved it. I thought that Kong was the most fascinating thing I've ever seen, and I love that I believed Kong because of everyone else's relationships with him. He is amazing, but it's a tough task on the actors to sort of make you believe that he's real. They have to also believe it, and I believed them. So I was like, I would love to have that challenge and do that. So
congratulations on the role.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Who else has a question?
Hi, Christiani.
Nate.
I've been very inspired by you for many years. You know that. But I would love for you to speak about, if you would, something that inspires me is your heart is so beautiful, and you are always so willing to do the work, but you're always the kindest the kindest human I've ever met to work with on and off the stage. I would love for you to, if you can, speak to emerging artists around the world that are looking to break molds like you are, and how did you do that? How did you, the confidence that you say that Ann Darrow might not have when she sees the blonde wig, and it's supposed to set her back. What are some tricks and tips for people that want to break molds or be on Broadway like you are? What are those things that keep you going?
That's a great question. I think I would just say that this business requires a lot out of you. To be on Broadway, they're asking you to be able to sing, dance, act, do circus tricks. I mean, they're asking you to do a lot of stuff that you may not be able to always do, but you can work hard, you can show up, and you can be kind. That is something that you physically can do no matter what your training is or no matter what your experience is. And I've been so blessed with having 2 shows out of school, and I think a part of it is because I'm always willing to just show up and try my absolute hardest. I know I am not the most talented person in the room. I know I'm not the most beautiful person in the room. I don't care about that. I know I'm going to show up and work my butt off and be kind to every person I meet because that's how I was raised, but also because I think that's what's important. And I think that will keep any young artist active and working if they just know that you may not always be the best, but you can certainly outwork anybody if you put your mind to it.
Oh my gosh, that's so inspiring.
Thank you.
I want to ask you really quickly about, we were talking about sing, dance, act, circus tricks. What's your physical therapy regimen like? Because you're getting literally thrown around.
It's crazy. Physical therapy, I go to once a week. I have a personal trainer that I go to twice a week. And the rest of those days, I'm doing yoga and sleeping. Truly nothing else. I thought I was going to go boxing and do all, and I was like, oh my God, my arms don't move anymore. So after one show, I just got to get in bed and wake up early to take class. But before that, I am in the bed.
Good. Yeah, I think recovery is an important thing to touch on too.
Yeah.
We have time for one more audience question.
Awesome.
Hi, Christiani.
Hi, Queen.
So I wanted to know, have you learned anything about yourself while playing the role of Ann Darrow?
Thank you. That's a great question. You guys all have great questions. Thank you. Yes, I learned that you have to. Sorry, it's hard for me to phrase because it's a lot. I learned that you have to sort of believe in yourself past everybody else's expectations, so that people are going to tell you what you should do and tell you how this is how you look, so this is what you should do. And Ann Darrow never believed in that. She had a big dream for herself, and that's what she wanted to achieve, no matter what anybody else said. And I think sometimes I can fall into the trap of someone sort of telling me what I should do, and I say, okay, you're probably right. You know more than me. Let me just try that. But I think I've learned now that I know what I want to be, and I have to continue to try to live in that truth and not let anybody else sort of dictate what my future is. And that's something that Ann Darrow does very well. So I'm trying to steal a little bit of that.
You are 2 months into this incredible run, and you are learning new things, it sounds like, about Ann Darrow every day.
Every day.
I can't wait to come back and see the show again.
Oh, yes.
And I think that whenever a known entity comes to a new format, people can be skeptical.
Oh, totally.
I want to assure people that they are going to get the theatrical experience of a lifetime.
Absolutely.
There is nothing else like this.
Absolutely.
You might remember when Lion King came along 21 years ago, and people couldn't believe that a kid's story could be transformed into this physicalized theatrical masterpiece.
Right.
And I would say that King Kong, through the staging, the set design, the ape, and through just the sheer simple beauty of your acting.
Thank you so much.
Is a phenomenon that everyone should see.
Thank you.
Christiani Pitts.
Thank you so much.
I feel like I just cut you off. Were you going to say something?
No, I was going to say you're the best, and I agree. That's it.
I mean, can't argue with that. Christiani Pitts, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.